Welcome to Chronically Driven, a podcast about being in the driver's seat when it comes to health and well-being, mind, body, and soul. Chronic means ongoing or constantly reoccurring. Striving for ongoing and reoccurring wellness is something I practice daily. I believe that we are all meant to lead a thriving, empowered life, and that it can look as unique and different as you want it to. If you have ever wanted to reinvent your life, have a healthier outlook, healthier habits, and feel better more often, but have felt it's not within your reach, this podcast is here to help break through those limiting beliefs and help you reach for your very best self. I'm Sandra Sova, and in the past 7 years, I have gone from having a completely sedentary lifestyle with a slew of unhealthy habits and coping mechanisms to get me through the day, to someone that is healthier and stronger than I have ever been, both physically and emotionally. Having a chronic condition and going through 4 years of cancer treatment and recovery turned out to be two of the biggest gifts I have ever received. It was the turning point for taking back control of my health, wellness, and well-being. My guests and I have got so much to share with you, and I'm so glad you're here. At its core, this is a health and wellness podcast, but it's also so much more than that. Now let's climb into the driver's seat and reach for our very best life. This is Chronically Driven. Today's program was inspired by a series of posts I was seeing on social media on the topic of what not to say to someone who has cancer. I do not know of a single person who has not known a friend or family member that has had a cancer diagnosis. And if you're like most of us, it's not always easy to know what to say. My guest today is the author of this educational series, Colleen Strong. She and I are going to dive into this topic and not only give you examples of what not to say, but also offer some alternatives of what you might want to say instead. We are going to start, however, talking about a bold and empowering experience that took place for Colleen earlier this year that turned into a national TV campaign where she wasn't dressed. I think you're going to love hearing it. It's a great story. Let's get started. Joining me now is Colleen Strong. Thanks so much for being here, Colleen. Let me see. What do I know about you that I can tell people about? I know that you're an entrepreneur, a businesswoman. You are a coach and a mentor for many. I also know that you love puzzles and a really good Manhattan, right?
Yeah, pretty much. That's me in a nutshell.
That's you in a nutshell. You're self-described as a Harley riding, kick cancer's ass grandma and champion of real women, rocking entrepreneurship for decades and mentoring others to do the same. That's some of the business stuff and some of the more fun stuff.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to do this.
You know, there are so many facets to you, and another one of them, what I wanted to share and let people know, is that you were recently also involved in a national television campaign that got some international recognition, gave a little bit of an extra exposure for yourself as well. Why don't you tell everyone what you were up to with that?
Yeah, it actually wasn't intended to be a television campaign. It was intended to be a social media campaign. And then COVID hit, and I think it expanded beyond its original intention. So my daughter had sent me a screenshot of a call that Knix, which is a Canadian underwear, bra, panties, and
great brand.
Other things now. Amazing brand. Yeah. Woman founder, awesome woman team. So she had sent me a screenshot that they were looking for models, real women models, not necessarily professional models. And it was an open call. And she just said, "Mom, I think you should do this." You know, when your daughter says you should do something, you should probably do it, right? You don't want to be the mom that says, "Oh, I don't know if I can do that." So without really thinking it through, to be quite honest, I filled out the form and sent it in, and got a message back saying, we want you to come for like an in-person audition. And I did like a really big gulp and went like,
Yeah.
oh crap, like this is real. Uh-oh. Because I honestly didn't think anything would come of it. And so I went to Toronto and I did an in-person audition, and I think they had over 800 women that applied, and they chose 11 or 12 of us, and I was one of them. And
Amazing.
yeah, completely unexpected. I mean, when I found out that they had chosen me, I kind of had a, oh crap, what did I do moment, because I actually had to go ahead and be in
And
underwear out of as a 58-year-old woman who's had a double mastectomy, and isn't like, I don't hit the gym every day, and so it was quite.
It was brave.
A bit of a panic, to be
I was
honest.
so proud of you. And just to give a little bit of context too, so again, we mentioned Knix, a Canadian intimate apparel underwear company. Their campaign, why this resonated with so many people, it was, the title of the campaign was Age Doesn't Matter. And like you said, Colleen, the casting call went out for 800 women. And
50 and older was the
50 and older,
yeah,
yes.
50 and older, yeah.
So 50 years of age and older. Hundreds of women applied. There were 13 in the final commercial. And there were ranges from women in their 50s to their 80s, different shapes, sizes, all of that. And it was that in and of itself, when that campaign came out, and we're going to play a little clip of it here in a moment. When that came out, it was really well done. All of the women looked gorgeous and beautiful and powerful. And it had like a really empowering song, Confident by Demi Lovato, the soundtrack. And so that was there. And then also, there was a particular aspect of this commercial that really, really resonated and touched people a lot. And it's kind of the focus of what we're talking about today, because you, my friend, you had a double mastectomy. And you also have on one of your sides, you've got some beautiful tattoo work. So some beautiful ink. Yes, the cardinal. It was really great.
Yeah, I approached the director at the fitting. So we went the day before, and they chose what we would wear, and got that kind of sorted out. And I should tell you that almost all of the crew was women. So the director, the photographer, the camera people, obviously the makeup artist, they were all women. There were very few men actually on the shoot, which I thought was kind of kick-ass that, that they had assembled this group of women. So the director was a lovely young woman from Montreal, and I approached her at the fitting and said, I have this really awesome post-mastectomy tattoo, and I would really like to show it. Like, are you open to that? And she's like, well, I don't know, like, show it to me. So I whipped up my shirt, pulled my bra to the side, showed her the tattoo, and she just went like, okay, we got it. We have to do something with this.
So I didn't know this. I thought that was part of your application, that they thought, divert like that, but they didn't know about the tattoo.
Yeah, I did bring it up at the in-person audition, and they had said like, oh, it's it's beautiful. We got to do something with that. But somehow in the translation of from that moment in time to the storyboards, it had gotten lost, and I didn't want it to get lost. So I went, like I said, straight to the director and said like, I'm completely open in showing this if it's something you want to do. So anyway, they kind of made some changes last minute and got it back in, which was really cool that they were open to doing that, and that they figured out how to fit it into the storyline.
That is a good segue. I would like to share with people a little. You're not going to see the full commercial, but I'm going to put a link in it, because it's beautifully done. The whole commercial is a representation for all of the women that were there. I've just fangirled and made only a Colleen Strong version, and just with a little interview. So let's play that right now and take a look.
My name's Colleen Strong and I'm 58. I'm really, really excited to pose showing my post-mastectomy tattoo on my right breast. It's something that is really special to me. It makes me feel beautiful every morning when I get up to see something beautiful instead of scars. I got my leg one first. I felt very alien, and so it's an alien woman, but she kind of has wings, and it was a way to just try to reclaim my body again. I'm excited to just share that and to show other women who have had a mastectomy that they can still be beautiful and they can still feel good about their body and they can look in the mirror and have that experience of, still feeling like a woman, still feeling beautiful.
How does it feel watching that?
Oh, it was such a great day. I mean, it brings up a lot of emotion because I didn't have any second thoughts about showing the tattoo, but it was so empowering and it was such a great experience. I mean, I get tingly just watching it again because I'm kind of back in that environment where just everyone was beautiful and everyone was seen. And as someone who is, going to be 60 really soon, you don't get seen very often. Society kind of writes us off, and to be so appreciated and so seen and to feel beautiful no matter what we look like, and to have that camaraderie of all the other women who were feeling that way, it was really kind of magical. And I think that comes across in the actual commercial, the feeling of strength and beauty and empowerment and like just badassness that everybody was in when they were shooting it. I think it really comes across, and I haven't had very many opportunities to have that feeling the older that I'm getting. So it was really cool.
Well, it was really cool for so many, and also for those of us that know you. It was very empowering for me as well. Also, being someone who has gone through a breast cancer experience, so I thought that was amazing. And just one other note that I had here: who knows with the television commercials how many views on that? The YouTube alone, Colleen, over 30,000 people have watched you in your underwear just strutting your stuff. So.
Less than my underwear, actually.
That's right. That absolutely, yeah. So
No, I got so many messages from people who were like, "Oh my God, I just saw you on TV. Oh my, I just saw your commercial." And then I was getting messages from people saying, "I haven't seen it. Like, what channel is it on?" And it was pretty fun to see everybody kind of celebrate with me because like my brother probably wasn't that thrilled to see me with just underwear on, but he like messaged me and was like, "I just saw your commercial," and like everybody was so supportive. Whether it made them uncomfortable or not, I don't know, because nobody acknowledged it, but everybody was really, really, really pleased and supportive.
I remember I have to laugh. I saw a post you made something about making a comment that your husband said, his dreams have come true. Now he has a lingerie model for a wife or something like that, right?
Yeah, he was awesome because my husband and I have a relationship, like I don't really ask permission for things. That's not the kind of relationship that we have. And so I just applied for this, and I kind of told him a little bit, but not a whole lot. And then, I went to Toronto for the shoot, and then he was like, "Okay, so like, tell me more, like what's going on?" And I'm like, "Oh, you know what? I didn't really ask him how he feels about me, like being on," because at that time it was supposed to be Instagram and Facebook. It was not, we never talked about TV. So I wonder how he feels about like me being on Instagram and Facebook in my underwear. And then it was on TV, and then it was less than underwear. And that he just kind of he actually cried, which was so sweet. Oh. He started crying and he said like, "Oh my God, babe, that was so amazing." And then on his Facebook, he said, "Yeah, my dreams have come true. My wife, I'm married to an underwear model." Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, no, and it's like, I mean, the emotions, like I'm tearing up right now too, because it's a big deal. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, when you go through so much and you feel you don't feel like a woman for a while, and you really struggle to accept your body and how changed it is and what it looks like. And, he went through all of that with me. And then to see me kind of just like strut it and be, be proud and to feel beautiful again, which, I mean, that took me years to get there. And, he saw that and he felt all that with me. So I think it was as important for him to see that as it was for me to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely love it. And your daughter must be so stinking proud of you.
Yes, she is. Yeah. I'm proud of her too.
So we're talking about that. That's like probably the most flashy, upbeat, happy conversation I've ever had about someone related to a cancer experience.
Yeah.
We have that in common. It's that is how Colleen and I actually became acquainted with one another, through both being on a Facebook group several years ago, back in I'm like 7 years now with my cancer experience from diagnosis, but then, there's lots of things you're going through treatments. And so we met through the cancer experience. Now we do lots of wonderful things together. We're actually business partners with our essential oil business and teams. And so that is super exciting. And I'm just going to visit in on that for a minute, because we're going to talk about a series that you're doing on social media around breast cancer awareness. And the fact that you and I have both been down that road. Take a look at where we were health-wise. 7 years ago, 6 years, 5 years ago. 5 years ago for me is kind of like I was so depleted. And to look at us now, we are healthy, vibrant, thriving.
Better than ever.
And it, and a lot of that has to do, there's lots of things, but a lot of it is the importance and the foundation of having healthy habits, healthy lifestyle, making sure that we are supporting our physical and emotional health. And so much of that has changed and is supported by my use of essential oils, especially on the aromatherapy side. So that is not the topic for today, but as I'm sitting here with my gorgeous friend, and I feel so healthy and vibrant. I just want to kind of put that in, because it's the connection of how we became connected with one another. And it's I think it's super cool.
Absolutely. I mean, I say it all the time that, I had a friend who passed away from breast cancer, and she was diagnosed about 2 years before me. And she was such a support for me when I was going through it, because she had she had been through some of what I was going through. And she said something to me that I'll never forget, and I repeat all the time, because to me it just really sums up. What she said was that cancer is a gift wrapped in barbed wire. It's true. There's a lot of pain involved in going through that experience, but there's also a lot of really positive things that can come out of it if you're open to it, and if you can look for them. So, doTERRA is one of them. I found doTERRA during cancer treatment, and it just flipped a switch and changed everything around for me. And I've created a beautiful business and an amazing team because of it. Doing the next thing, like I would never have, if I hadn't been through everything I had been through, I would never have been brave enough or have wanted to show that, you can go through these things and come out better on the other side. And that's a big part of my message. And what I want to do is show that, yes, cancer happened to us, but it doesn't define us. And it actually can be a catalyst for a lot of really positive change in your life.
It's the same. Yeah. One of the things that I really wanted to talk about is something that you've recently started doing on your social media feeds. That is a series featuring what not to say to someone who has cancer. What made you decide to choose that topic?
I wanted to It's been my experience, and a lot of what I see in the breast cancer Facebook groups, that people say a lot of things, very well intentioned, very well meaning, trying to be supportive, and it has the opposite effect. And there's a lot of, venting that goes on about, oh, I can't believe this person said this to me. So I was trying to find something that I could do that would have an impact for my sisters, but and help people who are really trying to be helpful, maybe steer them in a direction that's actually helpful instead of the result that they're getting. So that really stuck out for me, and it seemed like a really easy place to start. Was people don't know what to say, and so they say the wrong thing a lot of the time. And if I could help that, then I knew that I could reduce a lot of kind of pain and anger and frustration in my sisters that are kind of in the midst of it.
And that support is needed. And I think that there's either say the wrong thing or say nothing at all.
Yeah, and neither one are helpful.
That's silence, right?
Yeah.
So I've been enjoying the series. We're talking about our experience with breast cancer, but this could go for any types of cancer. So the first one, everything happens for a reason.
Oh my gosh. I started with that one because I think it's one of the most hurtful things that people can say. And I know that they're trying to say it's going to be okay is kind of the underlying message, or like you're going to get through this. But like when you hear you have cancer, it's terrifying. Like you immediately wonder, am I going to die? What's going to happen to my kids? What's going to happen to my husband? Like you go into this spiral. And for somebody to say that there's a reason for that,
it happens for a reason.
It's like, what effing reason is there for me to be in a fight for my life? Like, no, there's no reason for it.
It's not helpful.
It's not. And it feels like a slap in the face. Like, bad things happen to good people. Life isn't fair. Like, there is no reason sometimes for things. And for when people say like, oh, everything happens for a reason, it makes you start to think like, well, what did I do to deserve this? Because that's kind of the message, right? Like,
yeah, it's kind of one of those, there's that phrase. I'll try and use that. And the next one is saying things that are minimizing, like, you'll be back to normal before you know it. Everything's going to be okay. You've got this. You mentioned that it's sort of the protection mechanism for the person that's saying it.
Yeah, I think when people are saying all of that, they're reassuring themselves that you're going to be okay. They're not actually talking to you at all. They're just saying, oh, my wife or my friend or everything's going to be okay. Nothing bad's going to happen to you. You're going to be okay. But they're really saying it to help themselves feel better. And they're meant to be reassuring. But what happens when people dismiss like that is it shuts you down completely from being able to share anything that goes against that. You can't say like, I'm scared I'm going to die, or what's going to happen to my kids, or how's my husband going to deal with this? Because they've just dismissed all of that and told you like, there's nothing to worry about. It's almost like a pat on the head.
And I think in real time, if I can, see and sense and recall things like that happening, expressing something which every right to do so, a fear, like I'm really worried. Oh, it'll be fine. It'll be, it's wanting to shut the conversation down.
Yeah. It slams that door right in your face. I don't want to talk about your feelings. I don't want to talk about what you're afraid of. I don't want to talk about any outcome other than everything's going to be okay.
And while it's okay at some point, of course, sometimes that's the emotion, that's the sentiment that we want. That's fine to think that everything's going to be okay. We do need to be hopeful, but it's never an all or nothing. And there needs to be room and space to not have things just, sort of sugar coated like that. I think that the point of saying that it's those things are said to make the other person feel better. And it's just, like a lot of these things that we're talking about, it's maybe some thinking a little bit more about what the impact of the statements and the words may have on the person that is receiving them.
And I think, something I want to make clear is that I know that people aren't saying these things to be hurtful or dismissive on purpose. And I know that, people just don't know what to say, and they want to say something to show their support. And we appreciate that, and we need that. So, I don't want people to kind of feel bad if they've said some of these things, like, but I also, you need to understand how the person receiving it is feeling so that we can do better, right? So that's really the purpose of going through all these things, so that next time you know what to say instead of what not to say.
And as always too, it's not a one size fits all. It's these are very, very subjective. This next one is one that I heard all the time. You are so brave and strong.
Mm-hmm. Try having a last name Strong. That's all I heard.
That's right. Well, oh, you've got this. So being brave and strong, as if, what other choice do we have?
Exactly. And I used to say to people, because they would say like, oh, your name is like, it's perfect, you're so strong. And I used to say, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice. This happened to me. I wanted to live. Therefore, I did what I needed to do. I didn't choose to be strong. I didn't choose to be brave. I had the option of curling in a ball or not, and I chose the not. But I don't feel brave and I don't feel strong. I'm just trying to get through every single day. Mm-hmm. And when someone tells you how brave and strong you are, when you're not brave and strong, you can feel bad about yourself because you're being told all the time how brave and strong you are. And then you feel like maybe you're a failure because you're not brave and strong that day or in that moment. It can get really tricky, to be identified as brave and strong when sometimes you need to not be strong and you need to not be brave.
I think in some days, I think I was brave. I needed, some days I felt that, but that was so few and far. The rest of the days, you're not, when you're recovering from surgeries, when you're getting ready, all of that, when it's the heat of the moment, going to the hospital, going to the, that's when I would feel that I was being brave and strong, when I needed that. But for every other, which is 90% of recovery time, it did not at all feel anything like that other than when I was going for the procedures. Like it just, that just did not fit at all.
I agree. Yeah. I didn't feel brave and strong most of the time. And the brave and strong ties into the other things we were talking about, right? Where people are kind of creating situations where you can't share how you're feeling, where you can't share the amount of fear, the amount of sadness, grief, pain. So if you're not sharing all of those things, then you do look brave and strong because it looks like you're sailing through. You're not. You just haven't been able to express it because everybody's been telling you that everything's going to be okay and you've got this, and right. So they go hand in hand. If we were actually not dismissed and able to express everything we're going through, people would realize we're not that brave and strong. We're terrified. We're hurting. We're scared. There's a lot going on, but because we don't have a forum to share openly a lot of those feelings, then it can look very brave and strong, but inside that's not what's happening.
This next one, it's a really big one, and I think it's going to be it's super helpful. People want to know how can they help someone who's going through an experience with cancer or surgeries and that. Just simply saying, let me know how I can help. And that's what a lot of people do.
Sure. No, people don't want to ask for help. They don't want to inconvenience people. They don't want to seem needy. They don't want to impose.
And yet there are certain times when I can remember where things were so intense. I could have used any amount of help, anything that anyone wanted to pick. Of like a specific, like some of the specifics that you talked about in your in your post, where offering just that you're going to bring some meals, or basically kind of telling them what you're going to do, and then giving them does that work for you, instead of making them come up with something.
Yeah, instead of keeping it very open, like tell me what I can do, because now you're creating the situation where they have to ask for help, which they're not going to do. Most people aren't going to do. Some people will, but I think they're few and far between. So be specific. Think about what you want to do, and then say, I'm going to do this for you. And then ask about like timing or things. So for example, like having meals in the freezer, especially if you have children, or, there's more than you and your husband in the house, that is huge. So saying, I'd like to make some freezer meals for you. And honestly, don't even ask them like what they want you to make, because it's overwhelming.
Decisions.
They have so much going on in their life, and they feel so out of control that to sit down and write out a menu is not going to happen. So say, some of the things I'm really good at, I make a mean lasagna, a shepherd's pie, things that freeze well, chili, like, can I make those for you and freeze them and drop them off next Thursday? Like, be really specific, and say, like, if you don't like any of those things, tell me, and there's other things I can do, but I'd really like to drop off some freezer meals for you next Thursday. Is that okay? Or do you have any dietary restrictions or whatever? Another thing is cleaning their house. If you're a really good friend and you want to do it yourself, that's awesome. If not, say, like, I am going to hire a house cleaner for you to come once a week for the next 4 weeks. What day and time would you like them to come? Perfect. You have, and for some people that might feel pushy, like you have to be a good friend to do that. But for other people, honestly, if someone had said that to me, I would have been like, oh my God, Thursday at 10, please. It's be very, very specific about what you can do. I had a chat with a friend who said, I had so many people say, tell me what I can do. And I never asked them for anything. And I had a friend who, every other day around 10 would leave a Starbucks on my porch and ring my doorbell. She said that meant so much to me, because she knew I was away from work. I was missing my Starbucks fix. It was something like she was driving by my house. It was like not something that was super hard for her to do. But she said the fact that she thought of me and what I might be missing and what would make me smile, and then did it consistently, was huge. So it doesn't have to be a big grand gesture, but think about the person and what they're going to be struggling with, what their families, because often if we help the family, we help the woman.
So true. And just, think about what would be meaningful, what would be helpful, what you can actually do, and then just do it. Because I know for myself, and I was offered, let me know if there's anything that I can do to help, or I'm here for you. Great. But I never reached out. And also decisions when I was going through treatment, no way.
You're so overwhelmed. It's like, where do I start? Like, can you clean my house? Can you do my grocery shopping? Can you drive my kids to soccer? Can you talk to my husband and give him a shoulder to cry on? Because we can't cry on each other's shoulders. We're both in survival mode. Like, where do you start? You need so much help that just a wide open question like that, it overwhelms you and you just shut down, and it's like, oh, I can't. Like, I just can't. So be specific, offer something specific, and follow through. And be like, no yes or no questions. It's like, what time, what date, what do you eat, what don't you eat? Like, be very, very specific about what you want to do.
That's some good advice for, even right now, we may know some seniors, for instance, that aren't getting out due to what's going on in the world. Like, anytime you're looking to help for someone, don't basically make them have to define that. We can do a better job with that. And I know I see that in myself. I know how I can do better.
Yeah, we won't. Like, I don't like asking for help. I don't like depending on other people or, charity. Like, I just remove that from the equation, tell them what you're going to do, and ask them, their preference.
Great. All right, here's one. this is a big one so Colleen and I both have had, we had our mastectomy with reconstruction that is using your own tissue as part of the reconstruction process. When you get reconstruction, whether it's that way or through implants or anything, often people think that it's appropriate to congratulate us because we're able to get a boob job or a tummy tuck.
A free boob job.
Yeah, we're so lucky.
Yeah. Just kind of want to throat punch people when they do that one.
It's common. Did you have, I've experienced quite a bit of that. How about you?
Yeah, I didn't get a lot of that comment.
But I know it's prevalent.
It's very common. Yeah, it's very, very, I did get some of it, but I didn't get a ton of it. But it is, yeah, I think people are trying to find the silver lining. And, you know, for women, it's like, ooh, like I would love to get a tummy tuck or a boob job after I've had my kids. And for them, that's the silver lining. Mm-hmm. What they don't realize is the price that you're paying for that boob job or tummy tuck, which is going through cancer treatment, and all the things that go along with it. And by the way, our bodies don't look like, you know, someone who hasn't had a mastectomy and has had a tummy tuck and boob job. Like
it's very different.
Bodies, no matter how good the plastic surgeons do, are not normal breasts. They just never look normal. So, you know, it's a bit of like a Frankenstein boob job.
Yep.
You know, that's what it is. And we certainly wouldn't, I would choose to have my old saggy breast versus these breasts and all the scars and everything, mm-hmm. and everything that went along with it. So mm-hmm. Again, it's not something we're choosing. It's, you know, a bad option A or a bad option B. Which one do you want? They're both bad, but you get to pick one. Yeah. Some of the ladies have described it as a boob job with a side of cancer.
Yeah.
Who would order that? Like, yeah. You know, it's, or yes, I just went through my, fight for your life cancer makeover. Like, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know.
Yeah. So that segues into another one. Remember, okay, what are we talking about today, everyone? We are talking about what not to say to someone who has cancer. Mm. And one of the ones that I think is really important, and I think it's maybe just a little bit politeness, don't comment on their appearance. Mm. Don't talk about the changes that you're noticing.
Yeah, again, I think it's like a silver lining thing. There's, oh, like you're so thin, which, you know, normally our society thinks is awesome. But if you're thin because you have cancer, it's not so awesome, right? And it mm-hmm. might not be something that somebody once pointed out because they didn't choose the cancer diet. Like it happened to them, and they're probably quite afraid about what's happening with their body and how thin they're getting. And am I going to be able to like fight things off and continue with my treatment and all of that thing? The hair is another one.
So not all cancer and chemotherapy has hair loss. With mm-hmm. breast cancer, it's very, very common, and that's you know you can see that, and mm-hmm. a lot of people. First of all, that can be very difficult for some people.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's no walk in the park for anyone, but it's people sometimes feel the need to dismiss that, and it'll grow back.
Yeah, it's just hair.
It's only hair.
Yeah, it's just hair, but it's so much bigger than hair. It is. I mean, hair is so complicated for women. I mean, think about how much money women spend on their hair. Yeah. Right? It's a big part of our appearance and our identity. And when you lose your hair, to me, it's like a big blinking neon sign that you're wearing around your neck that says, I have cancer. And everybody who sees you instantly knows what's going on in your mm-hmm. life. And it's a real lack of privacy. And it eliminates any opportunity to have a normal day when you go outside of the house, because people stare at you. They give you very sad looks, yes. Right? You get a lot of sympathy glances. And it's just kind of a constant reminder to you of what is happening to you. It's just impossible to escape when it's so visible. And
so vulnerable because
yeah.
you're stripped. I mean, so it's not just the hair on it's eyebrows and eyelashes. I mean, that was really, really tough for me. You're very vulnerable. And like you said, it's like you're instantly identified as people know what's going on. And then, a lot of those sad looks or absolutely, just avoidance. You're just like, I often felt that I was making people uncomfortable.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Right. Because they know what's happening to you. They don't know you, but they know what's happening to you. And yeah, it is very kind of soul bearing to not be able to hide, just go out and have a normal day without every stranger in the world knowing what you're going through. Yeah. And all of that. And, just looking in the mirror, like for me, I didn't have chemotherapy, so I didn't lose my hair, but I would wake up every morning and I would kind of forget that I had cancer. And then I would like see scars or incisions or tapes or drains. And it was like an instant kind of smack in the face of like, oh shit, right. This is happening to me. Like, and I would imagine being bald and losing your hair is the same thing, right? You wake up in the morning, you kind of forget, you look in the bathroom mirror and it's like, bam, like, oh yeah, right. This is happening to me. It's so visible that you can't escape it. And then to minimize that and say, oh, it'll grow back or it's just hair. And
you can wear a wig.
Oh, yeah, no.
You can have fun with wigs and scarves. And that's so cool. I was told you have a very nice shaped skull. Like, thank you. That is.
I don't know what to do with that information, but thank you.
Thanks. No, I don't know. I mean, it's just, and I mean, we're not beating up on people. We're not. No. We're honestly not. We're doing, and I think that part of this sort of levity that we have is because we've both we've walked down this path. We're not being judgmental. We're really talking and sharing about this because it's also something that two girlfriends don't usually sit around and chit chat about. So we're kind of we've kind of walked the path. Another one, we maybe sometimes speculate. Do you think that you got cancer because you did or did not do this, that, or the other thing? Like, let's just wonder about that.
Yeah, I have to take a really deep breath on that one because, for me, when I got diagnosed, that's where my mind went was, what did I do? What decisions, did I eat too much sugar? Did I not exercise enough? Did I stand too close to the microwave? Like you go down this rabbit hole of how did I bring this on myself? And then to have someone else ask you that question or
maybe forward you some emails. What if they forward you some emails about some lifestyle factors that
or the crazy diets or the doctor in Germany that you can go and only eat, green juice and get cured. And
so, the dietary and treatment advice and there's a lot out there. But at the time, if you're wanting to come and talk to someone how to be proactive and how to do things, if you've got a really good friendship and a close relationship, maybe you can talk about that. But when someone has been diagnosed with cancer, I really don't think that's the time to start speculating on what they may have done to contribute to that.
Yes, no. And while I realized I needed to make changes, absolutely. But the blame behind it and I was not in a position to make any changes when I was going through treatment. I've made lots of changes since then, and I recognized that I needed to. But I had to place my faith and my trust in my team, in my medical team, and to start second guessing what they were doing just piled on more anxiety and more fear onto shoulders that were already way, way down with all of that stuff. So it's not good to start sending all of these different things that people, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. Have you thought about this? Are you eating this? You should stop eating this. putting all of that on somebody who is just trying to keep their nose above water is not helpful at all. Afterwards or during, like, if they want to seek that out, then that's the time to share your perspective if they ask you.
I think that really
otherwise just zip it. Like, don't. Yeah.
Especially if it's has any sort of things of like that blame factor, or that you should take responsibility, because, you know, I mean, yes, there are definitely things that contribute and increase incidence and chances of cancer, but I also know very, very well that you can have none of those contributing factors and still get a cancer diagnosis. So that sort of judgment is not appropriate. Also, I'm going to go through, there was a pretty good post that I saw that you were saying, giving some of these examples and giving an alternative of what you might say instead. But just for the last one here, what about telling someone who is going through cancer that it's really important that they always stay positive? Toxic positivity.
Yeah, it's toxic. Toxic positivity, one of my pet peeves. I mean, I know it's important to have a positive mindset. I know that. I also know, when I was in the thick of it, that, you know, some days my goal was to just not fall apart. A positive mindset seemed like Mount Kilimanjaro, and I had flip-flops on. It just was not it wasn't possible. So yes, mindset is important, but you need to be in a physical place where you have enough energy and rest and, you know, all of that to attempt to be positive. And, you know, a lot of cancer treatment strips that away. You're not sleeping, you're in pain, you can't get good nutrition. It's really, you're asking somebody to do something that's just not possible. And then when you do that, right, you feel like, why can't I just like mindset my way out of this? Why can't I get my butt up off the couch and get dressed and be productive today? Instead of just binging Netflix and, you know, like crying, like, why can't I? And so again, you're putting an expectation on somebody that they can't fulfill, and that sets them up for failure. And the last thing we need when we're already, you know, in a fight for our life and feeling crappy physically and emotionally is now to add more emotional baggage onto that. Right.
And I think it's also like one of the things, like I am definitely mindset, outlook, all of that, but putting on the positivity thing as a constant is not the space I live in. It's not the space that I want to live in, because I want a variety. I want to have times when I'm more introspective. I want to have time. Sadness is okay. Worry, all of these, like, to process. If we are only having one level of feeling, whether, I mean, for some, if it's not positivity, what if someone's angry all the time? Like, whatever it is, one dimensional. When going through a health crisis, when going through a challenge, when going through recovery, it is very much a roller coaster, and diminishing someone's experience by suggesting that they should always just make sure, stay positive, you've got this. This isn't our, our Olympics. We're not getting medals and standing on podiums. This is, it's something quite different.
Yeah, and we need to be able to grieve, right? We need, and that you have to stay positive kind of shuts down the opportunity for moving through your grief. There's a lot to grieve when you go through this. If you don't grieve when you're going through it, you will grieve after. Like, there's no escaping it. There's no mindsetting your way out of just skipping over the grief. There's danger in that. In fact, it's not healthy to skip over the grief. You have to be able to be sad and angry and hurt and all of those things so that you can be positive down the road, you know?
And if we keep emotions of any kind suppressed and we don't allow ourselves to feel those, that also, I believe, is how we can become unwell, because when we
Absolutely.
don't, whether it's more emotionally unwell or physically unwell,
Yeah.
there's a room for all emotions, and I mean, life is
Yeah.
not supposed to be all good, and it's, you know, there's lots of room. You know, I think this has been a really good conversation, and I think it's been something that doesn't get talked about enough. We've talked about a lot of what not to say. Here are some of the things of what to say. So
Good.
I'm just reading off of it here. Instead of saying nothing, which again, and I've been guilty of that too with things. So instead of saying nothing at all, say, I don't know what to say. That's honest.
Yeah.
Say that. That's meaning. That's real.
Yeah. We know you don't know what to say because we don't know what to say either.
In this one, instead of saying, I'm worried about you, say, I care about you. Do you see the difference? I mean, that's really powerful. I think when we compare these, you can feel the difference. You are so strong. You are so brave. Well, why not instead say, I'm sorry that this is happening to you?
Oh my gosh, I would have loved to have heard that. That would have made such a difference, because I think the biggest struggle for me going through what I went through was the emotional side. Like the physical side was tough, but the emotional side was hardest. And a big part of that was not having a release, not having somebody say, you know, I'm sorry this is happening to you. Tell me how you're feeling. Like, what are you thinking? What are you feeling?
Yeah.
Because what happens is we can't say those things with our family, because our families are hurting too. You know, we don't want to pile on more by saying, I'm afraid I'm going to die. I don't know if I can do this. I'm really depressed. Like, I hate my body. Like, we can't put that on the people we love, because they're already hurting as much as we are. And not having somebody to have those conversations with was the hardest part for me of that journey, because I had a lot of stuff that I needed to release and a lot of things I needed to say out loud.
Yes.
To move through them, but nobody was open to it. They were all protecting their heart because they were worried about me. They didn't want to feel bad. They felt they had to make me feel better.
Yes.
Instead of just letting me feel. So, you know, somebody saying, I'm sorry this is happening to you, would open that door that you could say, like, oh my God, this is so hard. Like, this is hard. This is what I'm feeling. This, right?
I don't need you to be my cheerleader and tell me I'm doing great. Yeah.
Yeah. Just open your arms and listen, and don't talk. Just let them talk and don't talk. That's really what we need, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that is what we need. Telling someone, I know how you feel. An alternative for that is, do you want to talk about how you feel? And that's kind of just what you touched on, Elaine. And that's because you don't necessarily. And again, this can fit a lot of situations. People, this is some good advice.
And I love that they asked if the time was right, because sometimes you can't say anything because you're afraid if you start talking, you'll never stop crying. So the time has to be right to open up. So I like that they said, would you like to talk about how you feel?
Yeah.
Because it might be a yes or a no, depending on where you are.
That is very valid.
And keep asking until they say yes. That would be the second part that I would say. If today is no, then ask again next week until they're ready.
Because those things do need to come out.
Yeah.
Instead of saying someone, don't worry, why not try, I'm here to listen?
Yeah, don't worry. How do you not worry when you might die? I mean, it's so ridiculous.
I'm sure you'll be fine. Colleen, I'm sure you'll be fine.
I'm glad you are, because I'm not, is what I would have said. Like, really? How do you know? That's awesome.
So if you're thinking of saying, I'm sure you'll be fine, why not again, simply back to, I'm thinking about you. Way different feelings.
Keep opening that door.
I think those are good. I think I'm going to post that graphic in the show notes. And we're not. It's like we said at the beginning. People aren't intentionally trying to be hurtful.
No, no.
I get it. We don't know what to say. But when I hope that today we have pointed out a little bit of awareness on how like a basic comment can have the impact of that from the person, and give some suggestions of an alternative of what might be offered up instead, because that support is needed. Saying nothing and being in isolation, that's not the answer either. So I hope to encourage people to explore this a little bit more, and think about how we can show up better for our friends and families and people in our community that may be going through something like this.
Yeah, I think it's all about being emotionally vulnerable, and we realize that the people who are saying these things love us and care about us, and they're worried about us, and they're really just trying to do the right thing by trying to make us feel better. But the truth is that nothing they can say can make us feel better. What they can do to make us feel better is to connect with us in an emotionally vulnerable way, and let us actually share what we're going through, what we're thinking and what we're feeling, because that's where the healing happens. And if all the conversations are about shutting down and dismissing that, then the healing gets delayed, and it makes it harder. So I love the open-ended, like, you don't deserve this. I'm sorry this is happening to you. Yeah. Would you like to talk about how you're feeling? All of those things are opening a door to the person to share what they're experiencing and what they're feeling. And that honestly is what people need when they're going through this whole cancer treadmill that you get on. So I love those open-ended responses where you're just opening the door to them sharing if they want to.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just to be mindful and to remind ourselves of that. I mean, that's some really, really good suggestions there. Colleen, I really appreciate this. This has been a good conversation. I hope that it'll add value to others as well. Is there anything else that you would like to share before we wrap up and let people know where to find you?
No, I enjoyed this. I mean, I was revisiting a lot of not so great memories, right? But I think, I'm really hopeful that people who are diagnosed or who are going through treatment can send the link to their friends and family so that they can watch this. That was really my intention, right? Was to create almost a tool for people in cancer to say to their friends and family, hey, can you watch this? Instead of trying to have these conversations when they're already overwhelmed and they need the support of the people. So it's not the time to say, hey, what you did just hurt my feelings. So yeah, guys, share this with somebody who got diagnosed. Share this with your friends and family if you have been diagnosed. Use this as a tool to make your path a little smoother. And that would just bring both Sandra and I so much joy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this has been such a pleasure. I know that this is not going to be the last of what we hear from you on your platform. Tell people where they can find you on Instagram and Facebook, and just how to connect.
Sure. So on Instagram, I'm at Colleen Strong Oils. Colleen has 2 L's and 2 E's. On Facebook, I have an open page that is Strong Oils Essential Oil Community. You can find me there as well.
Terrific. And I will put those links in the show notes as well. And we will also put up that video and a couple of other resources. And this has been great spending this time with you. And we will be right back. You've been listening to Chronically Driven. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you come back for more episodes. Follow me on social media at Chronically Driven over on Instagram and YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast, and we will see you next time.